Okay, good afternoon. Again, my name is Jared Goff. I'm a Dell EMC systems engineer here at Tech Data. I appreciate you spending your afternoon with me. We got about an hour of content to go through, got some slides, and then we're actually going to do a VLab on the data domain cloud tier. So I'm going to be using EMC's VLab tool to show you a couple of the features in there. Cloud tier is now native on some of the newest data domains, so it's pretty exciting technology, and it's something that we're definitely, it's a selling feature for those new data domains, and we're excited to show it to you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. A little bit of housekeeping first. So how this goes is, like I said, I have a slide deck. It's about 20 slides or so, some pretty good information on there. And then after that, I'm actually going to go into the VLab portion of this. And I'm using EMC software. They have a virtual machine spun up for this instance. Should go pretty smoothly. It's gone smoothly all day today. Practiced it a couple of times. But sometimes it does get a little bit rocky this time in the afternoon. So if it does, it might slow us down a little bit. But if we run out of time for you, feel free to log off. But I'd love to have you stay on and watch the entire presentation. So I am actually recording this webinar, so I will not be able to answer questions live as we go through the content. So I ask that if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions box on the for the webinar on the console there, and I will address those after. I might be able to address them when I end after the webinar, but I might just have to reach out to you independently. I've got your email address and everything like that, and I'll be able to clarify anything for you there, and we can always start the dialogue there. So one more thing before we get started, this is a general EMC data domain webinar. It's going to go over some pretty broad information. We're going to get some in-depth technical things, but not too many, and we're definitely not drilling down into individual use cases. So if you have, if you have a customer, if you have an opportunity where you think a data domain might be a fit, or really an EMC product, not just limited to this one, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to be able to demo some of the gear. We have a great lab full of EMC equipment. We'd really like to show you how it works, show your customers pretty much anything we can either demo through our lab or through an EMC VLab. So we'd like to be able to do that for you to add the value to that sales process. So feel free to reach out to us. And again, thank you. So let's get started. EMC data domain. One thing that I like to point out about EMC is that their messaging has changed a lot in the protection space. Protection storage or backup storage, is not that sexy to most people. It's not primary storage. It's not the thing that sits on the postcard that they send out to remind customers who EMC is at Christmas time, right? Data domain and pretty much all of the backup products, they are one of those you don't want to know about it because you want it to just work. You don't want to have to interact with it too much because backup is not something that people want to think about or archive. But a lot of times it's necessary. So, one of the things that EMC's done in the past couple of years is just really attacked that persona, really attacked that idea behind the backup portfolio, and they offer what they call data protection everywhere. And EMC is really the only company that, Dell EMC is really the only company that's able to deliver on that data protection everywhere. So this shows you, this is what they call the data protection continuum. You can see all the way from continuous availability to air gaps, so you have long-term retention, archive in the cloud, public or private, converged infrastructure, snapshots, replication. All of these points on the continuum, EMC has a solution for. And it's really important that you know that, because the conversation behind what we're talking about here is no longer just a box that sits there and holds your data because you have to for legal reasons. It's how are you protecting your data? What is your strategy? What is your company? What does it mean if your company loses any of its data? What does that cost? And that's really where that conversation is, and EMC can protect that. So data domain itself as an appliance, number one in the marketplace. We've got our little swirly right up there that shows you that. The biggest stat that points out to me on this slide is used by 90% of the Fortune 100. And I will say a personal note, Tech Data does use data domain for its backup, for its protection storage. So it's got to be good if we're using it because we're awesome. Yep, you're welcome. Okay, this is a slide that kind of shows an overview of the data domain family. There's some new members of the family as of a couple of months ago. The DD2200 is one of the more legacy appliances. It's within the last generation. The newer ones are the 6300 and up, as you see here. Obviously, they all fit into their own classes, and there's some overlap here and there. But the 6300 and up are newer. They have the power of flash in for metadata, so they are quite a bit faster than the old data domain systems, even though those are still great too. But you can see the scalability and the speed on the newer systems is, I mean, I would say even ludicrous. I like to point out this number right here on the bottom, on the 9800, up to 3 petabytes of storage when you use Cloud Tier. Effectively, Cloud Tier more than doubles, or it essentially doubles the capacity that's, or can double the capacity that's on the appliance itself. Plus, when you factor in data domain's logical capacity, you can get, again, up to 3 petabytes on one device. Imagine having that much data and being able to manage all of it with just a single management center, and that's pretty special. So that's definitely a big part of the enterprise story. But even down in the mid-size, I'll say 178 terabytes on an entry level, still kind of entry level backup appliance. That's pretty special. So this is the whole family. You know, depending on those opportunities that you and your company may run into, you know, there are ways to plug and play most of these. Most of my customers, most of the people that I talk to on an everyday basis, so most of you guys would probably be in that 2200 to 6300 space. And then some of them, maybe your larger opportunities at DD6800 would make sense. And the best part about the 6800 and up is those are the data domains that would actually be able to utilize Cloud Tier, and it is native on those devices. So the data domain, it's efficient, it's flexible, it's cloud enabled. When data domain started, it was seen as a purpose-built backup appliance, and that's why EMC bought it, and that was revolutionary at the time. And again, now the idea, the thought behind it, the messaging is that it's protection storage, and it's really important to focus on those terms, protection storage, because again, it comes back to that. What happens if you don't protect your data and you lose some of it? How much does that really cost? And that's why that you'll see that being said in pretty much any kind of collateral on the backup and archive and stuff like that for EMC. So we're gonna knock through all of these points: the efficient, flexible, and cloud enabled. But that's how EMC is now positioning its protection storage. Essentially, all use cases, any consumption model. And you know, as big or small as you need it to be, which is just special. Okay, efficient. So the ultimate protection storage, that's what they call their data domain. So I want you to look at this slide. We'll go over a couple of things, but you can see all of the different things that can be protected. You could back up databases, enterprise applications, virtual machines. You can archive big data, storage tiering. It can ingest all of this. It can handle it. It's good for disaster recovery, long-term retention in the cloud. You can also license it for a virtual tape library. Look at all the protocols that it works for. Essentially, it's your one-stop shop. It can handle pretty much anything out there. If there's a use case or an opportunity that you run into and you're just not sure, well, I would say the data domain would be a great place to start, and then we could qualify it from there. Most reliable protection storage. This is because of its data invulnerability architecture. So it's stored correctly. So the data is verified as it's written. It stays correct because as the data is sitting on the disk, the data domain itself does continuous fault detection and self-healing. And then it recovers correctly because it's been checked as it sits on the disk. And then as it's recovered, as the data is rehydrated, off of the data domain, it's verified again to make sure that it's right. So all of these things are what makes the appliance itself so special to protect that data. Backup. So backup can take a while. Backup also can take a lot off your infrastructure. It's a lot of times if you see, you know, we look at assessments all day long of storage arrays that for 4 hours in the afternoon are quiet, and then all of a sudden there's a huge spike in performance and just absolute drain on the SPs, and that's essentially the backups happening across the environment. So, we know the resources that it takes. Well, one of the best things about one of the licenses available on the data domain is DD Boost. What DD Boost actually does is it distributes parts of that dedupe process upstream to the application or backup server. So not only are you getting EMC's insane dedupe rates, which on data domain we've seen up to 30 and 50x. Now those are obviously pretty extreme, but at least 5x, 8x, 10x dedupe rates. You're seeing the start of that actually on the server, so that means much less data is going across the network, sometimes up to 80 to 90% of the reduction of impact on the network. Speeds of the backups by like 50%. So a lot of the proof is in the pudding when it comes to data domain is right here in DD Boost. That has been a selling point for a very long time, and it's what I've always sold. So it's pretty awesome. Every time someone's come to me with a data domain opportunity, I used to be in a sales role, now I'm in engineering, but still in the same aspect. I always ask them if DD Boost makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. There are very specific use cases where DD Boost doesn't make sense, but in most cases it does, and that conversation almost always leads to DD Boost being added. And you guys are just like me. We're really trying to sell the right thing, but we also like bigger sales. So a couple extra grand in some of these opportunities is never a bad thing. So flexible. We've gone over some of the cool things about data domain. Let's talk about its flexibility. Okay, well, I can't get over these slides that EMC puts out. Every time you see one of these big ones where a bunch of stuff is listed, essentially it just means that data domain can handle that. So look at all of the different enterprise class applications that DD works for and DD Boost works with. So fantastic, right? It shows you where the agent would actually sit on the application server, the backup server, what all it works with, everything like that. Again, if you have those opportunities, it's best just to come to us. We'll figure out for you if it makes sense, if that data domain makes sense, and if that data domain Boost story really applies in your environment, but odds are it does. Again, flexibility. So, you have your protection appliance, your best-of-breed protection appliance in the data domain. The ability to integrate this with VCE, they actually have VCE vBlocks now that have data domains completely integrated from the factory in them. You also have the ability to have data domain as purely virtual, a virtual edition of it. And actually the VLab we're going to hit here in a few minutes is on a DDVE in the EMC's environment in North Carolina, which is pretty fantastic. And then as a service, so our partners that are MSPs can obviously use data domain and data domain solutions and sell those to their customers. So again, the DD Virtual Edition, I want to point it back out. It does include DD Boost, DD Replicator, and DD Encryption. So you can put all of these on your own storage on whatever you got sitting out there and use it. Now, obviously, you're not getting quite the kind of invulnerability that you would off that data domain appliance, but bang for your buck off the DDVE is pretty special. Cloud enabled, and that's what we're going to be visiting here in a second, actually going through the demo. But the data domain clouds here, again, it's not on all the systems, but from the 6800 and up, it's native on those systems. So simple automated tiering directly from the data domain to public, private, or hybrid cloud for long-term retention, and it's cost-effective because it actually only sends unique data to cloud storage. So it sends deduped, and you can also have it already encrypted, deduped and encrypted data to the cloud. So if you're paying Amazon, if you're paying who else is out there? Google. If you're paying Microsoft, if you're paying all these any of these companies for the consumption in the cloud, well, data domain dedupes the data and only sends that unique data out. So the footprint out there is much smaller. Now you can also use some of the EMC's companies, and we're going to look at those here in a second. And that's actually what we're going to take advantage of today. But again, it's most people. I know a lot of people that use Amazon Web Services. So what can you do? Or Azure. So. Okay, so native tiering to the cloud, we spoke a little bit about it. No separate cloud gateway or virtual appliance is required. It handles it completely itself on the device, and it's handled from the Data Domain Management Center, which is actually where we'll use today to move the data up to the cloud. Okay, scalable protection. You can protect up to 100 petabytes of logical capacity in the cloud. Petabytes. Up to 100 petabytes of logical capacity in the cloud. So it scales up to 2x max the capacity of the active tier. We talked about that earlier. And increases overall data domain system capacity by up to 3x because you're getting the 2x extra in the cloud. So it's funny, it actually says in the notes here that it can protect up to 150 petabytes of logical capacity with a single data domain system, but the bottom line is you're talking about scalability on the petabyte level, which for this type of use case, for those type of clients that are looking for that, the numbers are just huge. Again, and I want to point out again that the data that lands in the cloud is already deduplicated. So some of the notes on the TCO are that you're reducing your storage requirements from 10x, 30x on these things. And it does support DD encryption, so the protection and the data that's in the cloud can be secured with all of these things. So you got DD retention lock, secure file locking, and also multi-tenancy, which I believe I took that slide out, but it is there. So the other thing, disaster recovery of long-term retention data. It's really great for that because you have the metadata. The metadata goes down, but you've got the information already out in the cloud. You put the new shelves in from the primary site, and you bring everything back up. So it really helps. It actually assists in the recovery process because you have that extra level. It's almost like if you had tape, obviously you could bring back the tape and regenerate off of that. However, here you have the data in the cloud, so you're able to actually pull it right back from the cloud. And then reporting, EMC, Data Domain Management Center, can provide health and capacity reporting as well as a full system view of your DD cloud tier. So we'll actually look at a bit of that. So broad ecosystem, again, used with any application, leverage your cloud of choice. So these are the, you can leverage Elastic Cloud Storage, VirtuStream, or third-party clouds for that long-term retention. And these are some of the applications that you can see it working with. So again, data domain cloud tier, simple, efficient, flexible, open. These are some of the points that are really important to call out on that cloud tier. So that is actually all I have for slides. So I'm going to just move this right out of the way. And we're going to go into the VLab where we're actually going to play with the cloud tier a little bit. So let's get started here. So again, I'm in a VLab. I'm watching this unfold on another screen as well, just to make sure that if it starts to lag, I'm able to see this with you guys so I can kind of slow down my presentation. Sometimes the VLab can take a little bit, but this one's been working really well for me today. So here I'm in the Data Domain System Manager, and I've already logged into it and everything like that, so we don't have to worry about that. But as I'm in here, I'm going to just point out a couple of things. Now, I've already got the clouds here set up on this particular device. It actually came already set up on the VLab, so you can kind of see what it looks like. So here, I'm going to click on hardware, and I'm just going to wait for storage here to load. And the reason why we're actually seeing a hardware device for the cloud storage is because the metadata has to be stored somewhere. So you are going to have some of the metadata stored on the data domain itself, and it shows it right here that you have the metadata essentially set aside for the cloud tier on the data domain itself. So that's pretty cool. All right, now we're going to go. Let's see. We'll have that already ready just so it gets ready. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to review and delete some files from a Windows host, and then we're actually going to do a backup to the cloud, pull it back down, and rehydrate those files. So I'm going to go right here, and that may slow us down just a second. So we'll hang out for just a second. Okay. So I'm going to click up here on connections, get into the networker. Okay. We're just waiting on the networker server to pull up. Okay, and I'm going to click on our Windows Explorer. So we're going to look at the documents folder here, which is actually now empty. Okay, so that's a little bit backwards. Let me actually pull it up here because I think we can see it better from here. Okay, if I look at our documents folder here, I'm actually going to take all of these and I'm going to highlight and delete them all. Okay, so that is empty now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to back it up. So we're going to go to the network administrator. Okay, we're going to go to the monitoring tab. We're going to expand silver and file system. And we're going to click start here. And what that's going to do is it actually starts the file system workflow to perform a file system backup job, and then we clone to the cloud tier. Okay, so we're going to now show details and watch it. Okay, so we can actually watch this as it happens. And let's see, where's the backup? There we go. And we can click show details here. And we're going to actually just watch this thing. Let's see. It's running a little bit slow now. There we go. There we go. So you can actually watch this thing as it goes through. I'm actually just going to click out of it so we don't have to sit here and watch it. So essentially, the best thing about this, and this is running a little bit slower now, that we need it to go a little bit faster, right? Let's see. Okay, there we go. We've got it complete, so there we go. Okay, we see it up here. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to click clone, and we're going to show details. And it's running, so this one takes just a little bit longer. And we're just going to wait on that. And we are running still. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. Almost there. There we go. There we go. Okay. So that's good. Okay, so now we're going to move the data to the ECS appliance. Okay, so we're going to go back to here. Click on data domain, DDVE. Okay. And now we're just going to type in data movement, start entries / data / COL1 / NW02. Let's see if that wants to work. Okay, so we got that. So now we are cloning to the cloud tier. We're going to actually watch it as it works. Data movement, watch. Okay, so now the data movement is initializing. So essentially that is moving that clone to the cloud tier. Okay, so we're just going to wait on that just a little bit. And it's in process right now. So, you know, one of the things I like about this, and I pretty much call it out on every webinar I do, I'm responsible for not only all EMC storage products, but I'm also responsible for all now, like Dell servers, Dell networking, Dell storage, pretty much a very wide array of Dell EMC, Dell enterprise products. So it is very difficult for me to really specialize, and pretty much all of us here at Tech Data are in that. We have, we have different certifications, we have different specialties, but it's very difficult to really drill down into every single product because there's just not enough time in the world and there's not 100 of us. So it's really important that some of these newer products, and this is what a lot of administrators have seen, and products that have come out have been this way, they're pretty simple to use, they're very easy to learn, and that's one of the things that I really, really appreciate about the EMC portfolio is you don't necessarily have to be an expert with the products to be able to use them and to use them effectively. Now, obviously, it helps. You can take classes if you're, if you're just the backup admin, you can learn more about a particular system. But if you are a smaller shop, if your customers are kind of a smaller shop, and you have one IT guy that's not only the guy that's in charge of purchasing all the desktops and keyboards and mice and all that stuff, but he's also responsible for making sure that the servers are up and running and the storage is safe and procuring from Amazon Web. If it's that same person or one or two people and they're stretched pretty thin, a lot of these newer devices, a lot of these new interfaces are pretty easy to use. And I'm just doing a VLab, and I was able to, in one day, essentially get familiar enough with it to feel comfortable presenting it to somebody. So it's really important to note that, because a lot of times people get pretty wrapped up in the complexity of these devices and of their interfaces, but they're more and more, even in the enterprise class space that we're looking at now, they're more and more accessible to the average IT guy or gal. So definitely pretty special. So now I'm actually in the Data Domain Systems Manager. I gave that enough time with enough of my little time buying skills there. So I'm going to click on the summary. Okay, I'm here on the summary. So we're looking at my clouds here. We're looking at the size. We're looking at some is used. I do have some space available as well. Okay. And so I know that there is actually data out in the clouds here now. Now I'm going to try to restore those files. So let's see if it decides to work this time. So back into Networker, I'm going to click on Recover. Now you could see that I had two practice runs earlier today run just fine. So I'm going to try to make this happen one more time. So I clicked Recover. I'm going to do Recover here and select New Recover. Okay. And I just have to click through a couple of things here. I'm going to do Traditional Networker. I'm going to name this one. Oh, that's not where I name it. I'm going to select this guy for this VLab. Recover to the same host is selected. Okay, I'm going to find the date, and this is actually from 2016. This is November. And it's November 28th is when this is actually from. Okay, so there we go. There we go. And there are all my documents that I need to recover. We can see them all there. So we're going to click Next. We're going to go to the original path. Okay. And let's see here. Where are we now? Obtain the volume information. I just wanted to make sure, because view required volumes. Got that. Pool. Select alternate volumes. Clone by pool. There we go. And then here we go, the storage node. Go. Recovery name. We're going to name this cloud Recovery 3 because I've already got the other two there. And I'm going to hit Run Recovery now. And even though if you look at it, I've got a status bar up here, and I got a note here that says it may already have been done. But we're not going to show that it's complete here. If you can tell, it's actually, most of them are recovering pretty fast. So I'm just going to hit Finish, and it looks like it's pretty much done now, or will be done here in a second. So now I should be able to go here to my documents and let me refresh this folder. Oh, we're not quite there yet. Oh, it does actually show that it did recover it though, so it must have completed, and I might have just put them in the wrong spot, which that happens. But that's neither here nor there. So the main thing I wanted to show you there with the cloud tier was how easy it was essentially to navigate through and use all of the options there. I'm going to really quick go over the DDMC just a little bit more because we've got some time. If I click on home here, and again, this is a VLab, so sometimes it takes a little bit, but you can see how easily this is laid out, how visually appealing it is. It's Windows, or it's HTML based, so it's very simple to navigate. As I look at home, I can look at system health. All the things that you would want to jump out at you, all the details for errors and everything like that, they are front and center. They want to make sure that you see them. It's really a system that is pretty simple to navigate, and it's going to continue to get better and better. The next iteration of it is going to be even more user friendly. And if you think about it, the next generation and the next couple of people hired by any IT department are going to be used to playing on their iPads their whole lives. So they're used to this type of display, this GUI. You're going to see more and more of this become available. You still have command line back there, but you can use this type of GUI, and it's really easy to use. So let's see, we can look at protocols. It goes over all the protocols, everything like that. So so that's the data domain. Again, we were able to look at the clouds here. I'm going to see if I did get any questions. No, I did not. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask any questions right now. Type them into the chat, but I'm going to be giving you some of your afternoon back. I really appreciate you coming out today. I appreciate you, spending a couple hours with me. And be looking every Thursday at 2 o'clock. We do these webinars, so we want to be able to show you different products, show you different scenarios. And again, we can drill down with your individual customers. We can, we can help you with whatever issue you're running into. That's what we're here for. So, and now obviously we're doing servers as well now too. We're doing all the Dell stuff. So we can help with that. We can help you cross-sell if you're not already into Dell products. Feel free to reach out to us. We can help you with that as well. So, all right, thank you, everybody. Have a good day.